notice that I did take a little bit of break throughout the month of June, and I wanted to address that first of all. So I decided to take this break because I thought it was first off important to educate myself on the Black Lives Matter movement and the struggles that a lot of Black people and people of color have been going through for the last hundreds of years, and I feel like I wasn't as educated on the subject as I needed to be, and I'm still not as educated on the subject as I should be. So I took that time to read some books on the matter and to look into the whole movement and all of those things. And it was also necessary for me to check out who I am subscribed to, who I'm watching, who I'm reading, all those things. And there was a very clear lack of diversity in the books that I was reading, the authors that I was reading, and the YouTubers that I was watching. So I have found a lot of really great creators and authors and books during that time that I took off that I would love to share down below. And of course, this is just a start in supporting the Black Lives Matter movement. We should all be doing our parts. People have been fighting against injustice way before these last couple months, and we will continue to fight against injustices and hopefully bring about some more change in the coming months. And as I said, this is just a start. So if you want to check out the resources that I've linked down below, I have some links to some petitions that still need quite a few signatures. There is also a really great list of resources per state with how you can help and who the officials are in your state or in another state that you might be interested in, that a coworker of mine put together in a document, so I recommend you check that down below. And there are also some really fantastic Black creators that I found recently, and I've been really enjoying their videos, so I'm going to link some of those down below. If there are any creators out there that you really enjoy, any books or authors that you would like to share, I would love some more recommendations, so please let me know down in the comments. And I just really want to emphasize that the Black Lives Matter movement is not just a moment, it's not just a hashtag, it's a movement, and it has been going on for quite some time. It just hasn't had as much attention as it has recently, which is really good, but we need to stick with that attention on these really important issues to make sure that some actual change will happen. So keep educating yourselves. Just by reading one book, we are not educating ourselves enough, and I think we all just need to be honest about that. If I ever say or do anything that is hurtful or harmful, please let me know so I can learn from those mistakes. And I'm really hoping you didn't just skip through this intro to get to my TBR, because we need to keep the conversation going, and we need to keep listening to Black voices around us in our community and all around the world. So I hope you're also doing your part. Please let me know if you have any other recommendations for what I can be doing in the meantime. And now I'd love to share the books that I'm reading in the month of July. So there are quite a few books on this list. I actually had to make the list a little bit smaller than the books I really want to read, because I don't know if you know, but I'm a really slow reader. It takes me some time to read some books, and I have some thicker books on this list and some books that will just take me a longer time. So let's just remember that I'm probably not going to be able to read all of the books on this list, but I'm going to start by discussing the books that I'm very much prioritizing and will hopefully most definitely get read in July, and then the other half will be the books that would be nice to read in July, but will maybe also just be read in August. So let's get going. So first off, I have been reading Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon with Jade from Jaded Reader and Olivia Savannah from Olivia's Catastrophe, and we've all been trying to read this book for quite some time. Jade and I started reading it, I believe, last year in February of 2019. It's Olivia Savannah's first time reading it, but you know, we are trying. We plan to read it in June. It's the end of June, it's the beginning of July now, and we haven't finished yet, but we're getting very close, so we will finish this book. If you don't know what Priory of the Orange Tree is about, It is a standalone high fantasy novel that talks about a lot of different draconic creatures. It has a female-female romance going on inside of it, and it's just a very in-depth, like fleshed out world building kind of plot. There's a lot of different things going on. There are 4 different points of view. It's extensive. It's well written. It's just a lot. So we're taking our time and hopefully we will finish it soon. The next book on my list is Me and White Supremacy by Layla F. Saad. This is a nonfiction book that looks at the system of white supremacy, specifically in the United States of America, and how it impacts the whole system, the whole government, the whole nation, and people as individuals. So as a very white European, I think it's really important for me to read this book and to examine the white supremacy that is all around us and that has influenced my life, the lives of everyone around me, and many other communities. The next book is actually a poetry collection, and that is I Hope You Stay by Courtney Peppernell. Courtney Peppernell is one of my favorite poets. The poetry collections that she writes are kind of based in a way of what emotional state you would be in when you read them. It's a little confusing, I'll explain. So her most well-known work is Pillow Thoughts. And in the first Pillow Thoughts, there I think are 4 sections where it's like for when you have heartbreak, when you feel loved, when you're trying to find yourself, and something else. But basically she breaks up her book into these different sections so that you can find the specific area that maybe you need for however your emotional state is right then and there, and then read those poems. So I really enjoy reading her poems right before I go to bed. I usually like to read a couple every night, and I just finished her second Pillow Thoughts book, and I now want to read I Hope You Can Stay. So I hope I really enjoy that. I really love Courtney Peppernell's poetry, and she writes really great female poems, so I'm there for that. The next book I am almost done reading. I'm so close, but I guess I'm going to be finishing it in July, and that is Clap When You Land by Elizabeth Acevedo. If you have not read Elizabeth Acevedo's work yet, I absolutely recommend you do, because she writes prose poetry books, and you don't know what you're missing out on until you've read her work in that style. There's just something about it that just really brings the emotional impact across on the page. You just have to read it to know what I'm talking about. So this book is about 2 half-sisters, one that lives in the Dominican Republic and the other who lives in New York. They share a father, and one day when he is on a flight from New York to the Dominican Republic, the plane crashes and he passes. So the story is primarily about grief and dealing with that kind of loss, but it's also about family and community, and really brings together these 2 sisters who didn't actually really know about each other before the plane crash. This is actually based off of a real incident that happened just a little bit after 9/11, I believe, and it had a really big impact on the Dominican community. I think that Elizabeth Acevedo just really conveys all of the things that she's going for in this book, and it's heavy and it's intense, but it's really a beautiful story. So hopefully I will finish it in the first couple days of July, because it is fantastic right now. Next up on my list is You Should See Me in a Crown by Leah Johnson. This book sounds so cute, and I'm really excited, and I know a lot of other people are reading it right now because it sounds adorable. Basically, this book is about, I think her name's Liz, who is really academic and works really hard in school and is really looking forward to going to her dream school. However, recently she found out that she is not getting the scholarship or financial aid money that she was really hoping to get, and if she doesn't find a way to finance her way to college, she won't be able to go. So when she finds out that actually winning the title of prom queen actually comes with a pretty hefty scholarship, she decides to run for prom queen. This is not her kind of atmosphere, this is not her crowd, and she ends up running against one of the new girls who becomes her rival, but also I hear there's some romance between them and it sounds adorable. So I can't wait to read that. It sounds lovely. Now we're getting to the other books I want to read. Okay, so there's one more book that is a very high priority on my list. Very high. And that is Kingdom of Copper by S.A. Chakraborty. And I've been waiting to read this book for exactly a year. I read City of Brass last year. It was fantastic. It was phenomenal. It's one of my favorite books. You wonder why it took me a year to get the second one? Well, I very much dislike the cover of the US edition of Kingdom of Copper. And you know, sometimes you just have these weird little things where you just won't do it. So I was not going to get the US cover for it. No way. I needed to get the UK hardcover of Kingdom of Copper. But it's very expensive because it's an adult high fantasy. It's like almost $30 and I couldn't really afford that for some time. So finally, when quarantine hit, I was like, you know what? We're gonna treat ourselves to the one book we've been wanting for a long time. There was a whole mix-up with the order. Basically, I accidentally got the US cover. It was a whole ordeal. We're just not gonna think about that right now. But now I finally got my hands on the UK cover and everything is going to be fine. So, in sum, I'm going to be reading Kingdom of Copper this next month and I'm so excited. I've waited so long. In the grand scheme of the world, this matters so little, but you know, you gotta shoot sometimes for the little moments. Basically, this is a trilogy series that takes place in, I think it's the 17th or 18th century Ottoman Empire. It all starts when Nari accidentally brings a pretty mysterious dark djinn into the world, and they go on a little adventure. They go to the City of Brass, which is Daevabad, and there are, I think, 6 different kind of like tribes or groups of jinn there, and just a lot of different things happen. I don't want to give the plot away, but it is fantastic and I love it so much, and I can't wait to see what happens in the sequel. Now, those are the books that I am almost guaranteed to hopefully read in July. Now, these next 2, I'm hoping to maybe slide in there, to maybe dip my toes in, but we'll see if we can get there. Now, the first one is Late to the Party by Kelly Quinlan. Now, I started this book, but then I stopped it because I got a little bored. So if you've read this book and have any thoughts on it, I would really appreciate it because it wasn't exactly going the way I was expecting. Basically, this book is about a girl and her friends, and they all find out that all 3 of them are queer, and it's beautiful. It's so nice. They have a little community and it's everything that you've ever wanted. The part that got me is that for 50 pages, nothing really happens. All 3 of them haven't really had relationships, so when her brother starts dating someone and he's like 4 years younger than her, she starts to get a little jealous and she decides it's her time to shine. So all 3 of them go to a party and they decide that now is the time when they're going to find relationships. That is as much as I know and as far as I got. I'm not sure if it's my cup of tea, but I'm really hoping to continue reading it to see a little bit more of the story and to see if maybe it was just a little slow towards the beginning. And the last book that is on my list that I really want to read, but might not get to until August, is Timekeeper by Tara Sim. Now, this book is a time travel story, which I've been reading quite a few of for maybe a secret video. And it's primarily about the main character, who is a clock mechanic. Now, when you're a clock mechanic, it has a little more meaning than just kind of like tightening some screws. So in their city, in I think it's England, one of the hours goes missing. So literally the piece from the clock goes missing and they actually lose that hour within their day. So that means that if they do not fix this clock as soon as possible, they're going to be in a different kind of time reality than the rest of the world, because they would be missing that hour from their day every single day. So he has to get on it, he has to fix that clock as soon as possible. And then there becomes this whole mystery about that, and some other things happen. A little iffy on what goes on there. But I know that there's a bi relationship, which I'm very excited to read about. So I hope I can read it in July. So those are the 8 books that I would really like to read in this next month. Hopefully I can read at least one of them. We'll see. I just started summer classes, so maybe. Keep reading, keep educating yourself on important topics like Black Lives Matter and about the oppression and injustice that has been happening in Black communities all around the world, especially in America. Take some time and treat yourselves this month. Hopefully have some time to relax and enjoy a good book, and I will see you in my next video. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a good day. Bye!